Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Rock City Trio. I am Tim.
Hi, I'm Catherine.
And I'm Adam.
Yes, and today, in our segment of Real Shit, we are going to be discussing what it is to get into a romantic relationship in today's hookup culture.
I like the term hookup culture. We talked about that not too long ago.
That whole title was just really clean.
That is really good. Yeah.
I like that.
Good job.
So today's society and our expectations for one another when it comes to getting to know somebody new is entirely different than it was even like 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know if you guys really, I know Catherine did, but I don't know about you, Adam, but back in the day, you know, you go to the movies or whatever, you meet up with somebody in high school or in the beginning stages of college.
Right.
You actually had to go up and talk to someone to be like, hey, I kind of like you. Would you want to go out on a date?
That's fair, because now that you say that, like, I haven't met up with somebody that I was interested in, like with a real date, if that makes sense.
Right.
Like the last time I did that was in high school. He was a boyfriend at the time. I met him at the movies, and it was so bizarre. Thinking about it now, like, that's almost weird.
I think the opening part was still kind of the same, because like at the time, cell phones were just kind of become like really becoming mainstream and for like high school and stuff. So that communication was there, but it wasn't like there weren't apps like Tinder and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So you still had to do that, like, hey, I kind of like you. Do you want to go out with me? And then after that though, you could text
really
and stuff.
Good.
Yeah, thanks.
That was really impressive.
It comes from a real place.
So yeah, it's almost like you've done that before.
The Academy should present you with your award immediately.
Yeah, thank you.
So for fun
I'd like to thank
things, we talked about it when we like introed. Tim and I are dating. High five. Whoa. Awesome.
There it is.
So we're dating. We've been together for a little over a year.
It's almost 2 years. 2 months away from 2 years.
Oh my God. Thank you for noticing.
I think you guys could round that up to like 5 years.
Pretty much.
Quickly.
We live together now.
Yeah.
We have a child. His name's Gavin.
Yep.
I'm just kidding. He's not an actual child. He's our roommate.
We just moved together into our first townhouse. I am a student at RIT. So we're representing the Rochester school flagship.
Whatever. So
Sure.
how Tim and I met, I think I'm trying to get into like the whole hookup culture thing.
Sure,
because,
go ahead.
Okay, great. So strap in.
Strap on.
I knew you were gonna suck it. I knew you were gonna fucking say that. So how Timothy and I met. Let's take a stroll down March of 2000.
Not a little over a year ago.
So stroll down March of 2017. I was a bottle and a half deep of wine in bed, living with my parents, and I saw him on Facebook. Well, actually, I saw him dating this girl on Instagram, and I was like,
yeah, we don't name drop people though.
we ain't naming no.
I'm just making sure.
I ain't fucking stupid.
Okay.
Oh my God, bitches think I'm stupid. I ain't stupid. So
I'm lost right now.
anyways, I messaged him on Facebook, and I said, hey, what do I gotta do to break the ice? And Tim's cheesy ass response was, I think you already did.
To be fair, that's a cheesy opener to begin with as well.
Thank you.
Also, out of curiosity, then how did you guys like connect on Facebook to begin with? Like
Well, I think we were like mutual friends because I really didn't know you existed in high school.
I think
we had to have been mutual
friends. I think you had added me sometime prior, because I know that when you did add me, I was in a pseudo whatever you want to call it, some kind of relationship. A very, very interesting relationship for me. It was more of a friendship, I guess. It should have never been a romantic thing. But either way, I think you added me at that time.
Anyways, what I'm getting to is when we first started like seeing each other, back to this whole hookup culture thing, I 100% thought that this was just going to be a hookup. I had just gotten out of college. I was just used to like just messaging people on Tinder or fucking Bumble or whatever that shit was, and just not strictly looking for a hookup, but knowing that most things are going to end with a hookup. So that's kind of what I thought like we would be.
Right.
And then we hung out for the first time.
And here you guys are.
And here we are. So people... So you don't gotta be hooking up with nobody if you don't want to be hooking up with nobody.
Well, yeah.
And if you want to take it real, take it real.
And so in direct contrast to Catherine's thinking going into this discuss, like talking to each other, I guess, I had already gone through that. I'm a little bit older than she is, so I was kind of already going through all those silly phases of like finding yourself and finding what's acceptable to you in a relationship and what qualities you want in a partner. So I had already sowed my wild oats, I guess is the best way to put it. I was done with the whole hookup thing. It didn't make me feel good about myself. So when we first started hanging out, I basically told her like, hey, I just want to hang out and we can get to know each other. And she's like, cool. And we put all of our shit out, as she likes to say.
I do like to say,
You
I'm a broken record when I think like the reason Tim and I work so well together is because the very first night that we hung out, we literally just gave each other like, here's all of our shit, here's all of our baggage, you either want it or you don't. I've said that a million times and I'll say it a million more.
That seems really good because it feels like in a lot of ways at this point everything is just kind of a game of like trying to hide everything or trying to like just, it's all about the image that you put out as opposed to like who you are as a person. And that's part of my problem with it is I don't do that very much. Like, I mean, I am kind of aloof when first getting to know people because like I just don't share my piece, but like if I start to get to know someone, I immediately start like throwing everything out there because it's like, well, no, you're getting to know me. I'm not the me that I kind of want you to see as much.
And that's fair. Like, you kind of want to be guarded when you're first meeting somebody, first getting involved with somebody. You want to guard yourself a little bit. Yeah,
and it's like, I'm not saying as a whole that that's a bad thing. It's just that like I feel like it's overly used or overly done at this point a little bit.
Well, and that's, again, in just direct contrast, I mean, we're all different people, and I think for me in particular, transparency was just where I was at mentally. I didn't want to play games anymore. I have done mean things. People have done mean things to me. I was just so done with that whole concept of like wasting my time on somebody because, I mean, we don't get our time back. So I don't want to spend time with somebody that's just going to end up fucking me over and vice versa. So I figure, you know, all decent relationships, maybe not all of them, but a very high portion, I would say probably at least 75%, start off being friends, like really good friends. And then your best friend turns into the person you fall in love with. So, I mean, that's kind of what we did. We hung out for a few months and
got really drunk until you told me you loved me.
Yes. There was a transgender woman at a bar that said,
Never tell a man you love him.
Yeah. So I had to do it first. But it wasn't just because we were drunk, by the way.
But we were very drunk.
We were drunk, but we had been seeing each other for 3 or 4 months at the time. So
I was going to say, wait, was that before you guys were actually seeing each other? But no, that makes more sense.
No, but it was so weird. Like, I guess not weird. It's kind of sweet. Look, because it's us, so I think it's sweet. But I feel like other people might think it's weird. But like, I just remember we were with a group of people that we did not know very well. We only knew your friend. And like the rest were just mutual friends of his.
Right.
We just tagged along and then we just got very drunk and just out of nowhere you just looked at me and you're just like, I want to tell you something. And I was like, no, you don't. You don't want to tell me shit. This transgender woman, she was sitting next to me and I like looked at her and I was just like, hey, I think I have a feeling this dude's going to tell me he loves me, but he doesn't want me to say it. He wants me to say it first. We had this whole conversation. And then she said her good one-liner.
Yeah, and in the middle of lots of whiskey and shared cigarettes, good old-fashioned Marlboro Reds.
Oh my God, I love you so much.
I love you.
Oh, Adam,
I feel
we love
alone.
you so much.
But yeah, so the hookup culture nowadays. So we basically made it through, but it took effort though. Like it took a conscious effort to not allow it to just be, okay, well, I'm attracted to you, you're attracted to me, let's just hook up. And then, you know, inevitably when we do things like that, it typically doesn't end up working out because there's so many cases that you and I can both reference. Even, I mean, the ones that we know of each other too, where that's kind of what happened. And then shit hits the fan 2 or 3 months later. So I think making the conscious effort of not making sex a priority,
right,
and just getting to know each other and hang out and do shit that you like to do with each other, and like having real conversations. Like, I think people that are more transparent too, and not everybody's able to do it, and not everybody's capable of being this way, and I get that, but I think that the more you're capable of just allowing yourself to open up about personal things to see if someone can relate to you,
Right.
the better off you are.
And I just remember going through college and I didn't have any of that. Like, it was strictly just a hookup culture.
Yeah.
And like looking back, it seems stupid.
I mean, like for me, that's the thing I've been trying to adjust just generally in life is just like, okay, making sure to be, all right, this is who I am. This is me, and not kind of like pulling as many punches with that. At least in my experience, a lot of different people want you to be like this or that. And that's just like, all right, I'm kind of over that at this point. It's like, I'm going to be me. And then I feel like that helps as well, where it's like, then if someone comes along, they know what they're getting themselves into, and it'll work out better that way because of that too.
Yeah, I'm a firm believer in basically you finding, I mean, it's so cliche, I guess, but you really are so much more capable of loving somebody the way that you want to be loved in return when you love yourself. Like when you start to get to know who you are.
Yeah, that's been a fun journey to try to figure out, because that's kind of where I'm at this point, is like been on that journey so far.
Right. And I'm not speaking from a place of like everyone should just do that. I was 25. I'm 28 now. I was 25 literally, like I know the exact day when I was like, oh, I know who I am now. So I was 25 and had a lot of failures and whatever else and shitty things happened to me throughout my life that basically led to the knowledge that I have now, I guess, about it.
Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and being that I'm 22,
Exactly.
I think I'm in that exact thing that you're talking about. Of
Yep.
Oh, that was when that happened, and so it's like I'm just on my earlier part right now. We're figuring it out. And
That's what I was gonna say. I'm 24 and I'm still figuring out my shit. Like, I feel like just today I remembered, I was like, oh my god, I graduated college 3 years ago and I still am like figuring out the right path for myself and what I want in my life. And it's kind of weird because I also feel like I've gotten so far in my life. Like, I have an amazing boyfriend, we live with each other now, I have great friends, great family, but I'm still not on the right path, I guess you could say, air quotes, for myself.
Real quick addition to that, kind of as a side note, you don't need to know what you want to do after college. Like,
Absolutely
at
not.
20 something, like,
No.
because that's
Tim's
been
in college still.
yeah, and like I'm debating whether or not to go back to school, because I never got a degree, and I'm like
Right.
debating whether or not to go back, and if so, what for. I still don't
Right.
even know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just to branch off to, I mean, that exact concept. You know, your parents and whoever else that want the best for you, they basically end up doing more harm when they're pushing you that way, I think, if you don't really know what you want.
Yeah, it's hard too, because it's like, you know, it's from a
Place of love and whatever else. But it's interesting because, you know, again, I was 25. I went to university at Buffalo. I ended up, you know, not dropping out. I didn't fail everything or anything like that. But I came back home and I went to FLCC, got my 2-year degree, and then got accepted to RIT. But the difference was I was doing poorly at UB because I thought I was doing something realistic. I was going for psych. And that was the more realistic approach to life. Oh, you got to find a job after college, blah, 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 which is obviously the goal. But it wasn't what was going to make me get up in the morning and be like, I'm so excited to take this on for the day.
It's kind of finding that middle ground.
It's finding the middle ground of something you're very passionate about and being able to apply it to getting money.
Yeah, because
So.
I mean, like I don't have a single degree at this point. I went to Cedarville University and then switched to FLCC, and in that time switched majors 5 times, I believe, and then walked out without actually having a degree ever, and now I'm considering going back for a completely different major, and it's like, yeah.
So you don't need to know exactly what you want right out of high school. That is such a crock of shit.
I think we got a little off tangent.
Yeah,
I'm
I just
so
kind of needed to
afraid.
interject that.
I totally get it, but I'm just saying, I'm so afraid that this is going to happen constantly, especially with the 3 of us, because we love to just talk and talk and talk, and we can say so much shit.
What you mean? We don't talk all the
No.
time and go on tangents
No,
every conversation.
none.
It's fine. These things can be
whatsoever.
an hour long if we want them to.
It'd
And
be
they
5
can
hours long.
have little 5-minute
You
segments.
are killing me. Okay.
But anyways, so back on track. So the hookup culture. Basically, the whole point of that tangent was that if you don't know yourself, if you don't know what you want, if you're not comfortable with who you are, then it becomes much easier to subscribe to just accepting a fleeting moment of quote unquote love, but just a moment of passion, I guess, where you're just hooking up. Because I mean, everybody likes sex. That's not a debate here. But
that's not true. There are some people in
there
this
are
world
some people that don't like sex. You're
that
right.
don't like sex.
Which, maybe that comes with whatever.
Don't stay on track.
So either way, though, I feel like it just becomes such a I don't know. It's just kind of sad that with the direction that we all feel like society's gone in general, like where we're not able to be intimate, even on a friendship level.
Yeah, I mean, I could see it. I think it's fine, but I think it's just the balancing act of it, right? Where like, because that's perfectly fine if that's what people want, then that should fully be there, and people should be able to find other people that just want to hook up. But then, it feels like right now, people that do want that intimate relationship, like an actual, like long-term, like settling down type thing, that's really difficult to find because the only avenues really are formatted for that hookup culture.
Right. And I guess that's what I was getting at is, there's absolutely nothing wrong with if you want to just go have fun and whatever. I'm not saying that, people shouldn't have that ability to.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure it was clear because,
but for the people that want something more, you don't have to subscribe to just the hookup culture. I think that if you hold out and find somebody that you actually genuinely like by basing it off of, similarities and then.
Hey, I like you, Tim.
Do you?
A little bit.
I'm uncomfortable.
I don't like relationships at the moment. Like, I'm still kind of.
Why don't you tell some of your background stuff?
I mean,
I don't
Tim
know.
and I could talk for days, so you hop on for sure.
See, I haven't analyzed it too much, honestly.
Analyze. Let's
horseshit.
analyze.
Well, yeah. I've never vocalized analysis, I should say.
Also, you and I are gonna get like super real because I know you and Tim talk.
Oh yeah.
You and I don't talk.
Oh yeah.
So,
We barely have communicated. It feels like.
No, we
really
haven't seen each
unfortunate.
other in so long,
Well,
and
yeah,
then when you
'cause
are here, it's not.
It's always.
I'm tired and
usually,
cranky.
Well, and usually it's like about when I'm leaving that you're getting home from work.
Exactly my point. So, I'm ready to analyze this with you. Everything Tim says is wrong. Believe me, I'm the better half. I'm just kidding. Tim and
I'd
I
say
are
Tim
team.
tends to be pretty accurate, just because
I love you so much, Tim.
Tim and I are basically the same person, just he's 6 years ahead of me. Like, I think we've come to that conclusion before, or at least I think when we first started to get to know each other, you would tell me that a lot. Like, I was exactly in that same spot, like that type of stuff a lot. So
Yeah.
usually your advice tends to be pretty sound towards my decision making.
Let's talk about it. While Tim gets wine, he doesn't
right.
need to be. He can still hear us talk. All right. So
Okay, well, I don't know. I don't know if I've had any what I would call great experiences with relationships. Most of my experiences have been either kind of what I'd say is childish in the sense of like high school,
Sure.
like, couple months type
Yeah.
thing. It's like the most serious thing in the world, and then it's like, oh yeah, that was literally nothing. But yeah, like I had basically one very serious relationship, and like it wasn't the best.
okay.
And it was always kind of a struggle a lot of the time. And I think the thing is, it's all kind of a little bit tainted because I think a lot of it was just due to mental health because
Okay.
I've dealt with a lot of that type of stuff. So that's where, when we were talking about earlier of like kind of figuring out your own journey type thing, I've spent like the last, I don't know, Tim, what would you say? Like
He's in the bathroom.
2
He's pooping.
Oh.
Poop, poop, poop.
Yeah, because I'd say I'd spent probably like the last 2 years like really diving deep into my mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
Like things that probably have been a problem since I was a small child that just kind of realized and like so started figuring out, oh, let me take medication and let me see a therapist.
Yeah.
Let me sort through all
yeah.
of this gunk that's just in my mind. So that's really where I've kind of landed at this point. So it's like I have past experiences and I've learned from them, I'd say, but not the most because a lot of what's been learned has been more so just figuring out self through mental health. So,
But that's important. And sometimes, like,
oh, absolutely.
well, one, totally good for you. That's awesome. You kick ass. Second of all, dealing with mental health and being in a relationship, it's
I don't know if it was the sole factor, but it definitely destroyed the relationship.
it can definitely affect things for sure. Thank you, Tim. Tim just brought me wine. He's got whiskey.
You are the man.
Oh my
Thank you
god.
so
Well,
much.
cheers, everybody. Clink, clink. Oh my god. Okay.
Like a little side note, because it's winter, your guys' townhouse is the worst for static electricity.
Oh my god. It's terrible.
So whenever Tim and I film like the Cologne reviews, like every time I go to start or stop recording on my camera, it shocks me, and I'm not a big fan of that.
No, it's terrible.
And so when I was setting up the microphones for this, every time I went to adjust something for a microphone, I grounded myself on the lamp first.
Yeah,
like every time I
absolutely.
just shocked myself on that because I didn't want static electricity going through the microphones at
When
all.
I get up and I have to like turn on the TV or whatever, I just like smacked him in the face, get it out of the way, and then I touch the TV. Just like pat, 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 pat all over your face to get it all out.
Rat-a-tat.
Rat-a-tat-tat. Okay.
I'm gonna just buy you guys a bunch of balloons, just to really
That
add
would
to
be
the,
horrible.
just to add to it.
That'd be terrible. I'd hate that.
La terrible.
Your guys' townhouse could be like the house in Up.
Oh, could it be?
Don't tease
Yeah.
me. It's so bizarrely. I thought about that today because we drink grape soda, and the
love
grape
grape
soda is the adventure badge. And I'm gonna put one on your tuxedo when we get married one day. No, we're not gonna get married. Tim hasn't asked me yet. Moving on.
Anyways.
We're getting off tangent again.
I don't remember where we were.
You're getting on tangent, I think.
Yeah. That was probably more aligned with the topic than my discussion of mental health. I mean, I guess I'll sum up that whole thing just saying I don't know how much of my experience has been very valid because I've been dealing with so much more experience in mental health lately, and that's more prevalent to me at this point. So that's basically what I have.
Well, that's the other thing too, though, is people tend to try to put their own stuff on the side, in the back burner. When they're in a relationship, they try to put the other person first a lot of the time.
Or also have that other person be the fix for those problems.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been in a relationship where, again, I'm not going to give away any names, but she basically was horrendous.
What's her name?
Who? No, look at me in the eyes. Who? I knew it.
She was
Make sure to mute the track just in case it got picked up at all.
she was horrendous, and
It rhymes with Cherokee.
Cherokee Jack. Wait, what is that?
No, it doesn't.
What's that from? I don't remember.
But basically, I took on, that same role as trying to be the fixer, and I think that I had to learn to get out of that role, that I was not going to be with somebody that needed help being being who they are. And it ended up making me really depressed because, I mean, we broke up, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But she's just a miserable fucking human being. And there's nothing I could do about that to change it. I mean, she had to do her own. I have no idea. I haven't seen her in years. But
It's kind of weird.
According to her social media, she does seem happier, but I
good.
don't know.
Yeah, because that's weird. It's kind of funny because that's kind of how I was in a relationship in a way. Like something about that, I don't know if it's the comfort of it or just the really pressuring all of my crap onto someone else, but in a relationship I was miserable, and not just as a person but also like really dragging down my I'll say partner, I guess, whatever, with me. And it's bizarre because I mean, I'm doing a good bit better at this point, but I'm still dealing with everything, but I'm feel 1,000 times better, and it's weird.
I think sometimes when dealing with, I don't think I've personally ever dealt with like my significant other having like issues with their mental health.
that's not true.
No, I'm talking like in the past.
You're dating
I'm not.
Tim.
I know. I'm dating. I'm just talking about like in experiences, not like specifically just with you.
What about the boy from college? You know which one. There was a huge to-do.
Oh my God, you're right.
Yeah.
Bitch, I blocked that shit out. No, but like, well, while we were dating, it wasn't all that obvious. Like
Right.
I don't think I was really aware of it until after we broke up, when like shit hit the fan. But what I'm trying to get at is that, like, I think sometimes when maybe possibly dealing with a significant other that is going through like their own mental health road to recovery, sometimes, like you were saying how you got comfortable, I think maybe it's because like when you are with in a relationship, you know you have that person, so you have this weird comfortability to kind of lay everything out and be very much more open about it, which could lead to negative things. Does that make any sense?
Well, because it's kind of like working out, right? Like when you're not in a relationship, you kind of take a lot more time to like, oh, I really want to get in better shape. Like, man, I gained some weight and stuff. It's like, if I want to try to, you know, like get with someone soon or something like that, I got to look my best and got to be doing better. But then once you kind of get in a relationship, sometimes that just kind of goes out the window because it's like you get comfortable. And
you get comfortable in misery sometimes too.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing too, I think that's a huge factor, especially with people like you and me, Adam, because we're both the same. Well, at least I used to be this way, which was ultimately something that brought me down. But when we get really excited about like being with somebody that we like, I think that we kind of put all our eggs in one basket.
100%.
And sometimes we don't realize that maybe they don't like us as much as we like them. And then we think that we can come to them with whatever's going on in our brain, but they really can't be bothered at that particular moment.
My ex had a kid, and I was very much ready to adopt her kid. Like and obviously looking back, it's like, wow, that's kind of crazy. Like but like you said, it's the all my eggs in one basket type thing.
Right.
Like I also just have that mentality, and it's like something I work on with my therapist a little bit, is all or nothing mentality is a huge problem for me.
Right.
And so especially in those circumstances, it flares like crazy.
Oh yeah. And I used to be the same exact way too. In relationships and school, everything, it was either I was getting A's or I was getting F's. There was no in between.
Yep.
So the same exact thing for me with relationships too, especially at a younger age, like between 18 and 23, I want to say.
Yeah, like I also had plans in my head type thing too, which like that's good and all, but as soon as those don't really work out, it's really awful because you get really stuck on them.
We put things on a pedestal almost, and we build them up to be something more than they actually are.
Yeah, and like I always looked up to my brother and his wife, who they're like about 9 years older than me. And so they got married probably when I was like 12 or 13. And so ever since then, like I was like, that's what I want. I want to be married at like 21, like that's the dream, to get married, then have some kids like half a decade to a decade after that, and go about my day. And here I am, 22, very single. So it's like plans change and plans don't go according to plan.
The other thing too that people don't tell us as we're growing up is that 21, 25,
it's young.
It doesn't feel like you're old. When we're 18 and you're like, oh my God, that person's 25.
And they have it all together.
Oh my God, I'm 28 and I feel like I'm still 22. You know what I mean? Like mentally, I'm not 22.
I'm 22 and I feel like I'm 4. I don't actually but no, it's that concept it's that when you're young, you think, oh, all adults and anyone basically over the age of 20 has it all figured out. They have it all
it's
together.
Like, no, I'm figuring this shit out one day at a time.
Yeah. And then as soon as you kind of hit like partway through college, maybe even as soon as you hit college, it's like, oh, none of them know what they're doing either.
Nope. And you'll notice too that sometimes even fucking professors have no idea what they're doing and they don't have their shit together.
Part of that's very comforting.
Yeah.
But part of that's very confusing.
Concerning.
Yeah.
That's a little concerning because it's like, well, I think the sooner we're all able to accept in relationships and in general that nobody has it figured out, the better off we
Life
are.
would be a lot more understanding, I would say.
Whoever says that they have it all figured out is absolutely full of shit.
Yeah.
Nobody does. Nobody knows the answers. Nobody has all the answers.
And if they did have all the answers, I would want to punch them anyway because I don't have all the answers, and so that frustrates me. Go away. Get out of my life.
So applying that to relationships, friendships, romantic relationships, I think that the quicker we are to accepting that no one is ever going to be perfect.
Yeah.
And the idiosyncrasies is sometimes what makes a relationship
Oh,
more
absolutely.
fun.
I always find myself
Give an
attracted
example.
to people's quirks more than anything.
Exactly. Like Catherine and I fuck around and do stupid, fun shit, quirky shit all the time. And that's like the fun stuff. Like when we go out to the bar with a group of friends, you see the two of us in the corner dancing and being stupid. And
Sounds about
nobody
right.
else is. Nobody else is dancing because they're too afraid to be in public, to make a fool of themselves in public. But she and I are just like, I don't give a single shit.
Because
Yeah.
also, to be fair though, I still would not be like that if it weren't for you.
Well,
I'm honest. I might have just said a lie, so never mind. I was going to say that I'm actually a really quiet person, but I know that's a sack of shit.
I, on the other hand, am an actually very quiet person.
well, that's what I mean though. When
Actually,
the
that's
two
kind of a
us-
lie too. No, I am.
The two of us get together and it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think if we're more capable of, in general, leaving judgment out the door
Yeah.
and just accepting everybody for the flaws and all, and you have to learn to love people for who they are, because you're
Yeah.
never gonna have
People-
control
yeah.
over how
People don't
someone's
change
responding.
that much. You can't change people, really.
No.
And that I feel like that's a lie that's been perpetuated. Is that the word? Perpetrated? I don't know.
Perpetuated.
Words.
Quite a bit. And it's like, I don't know. Yeah, people don't change. You can't change people. You can change yourself, and you can adapt, and hopefully the other person will adapt too, and then you can find a very nice middle ground.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, there are no clear-cut answers. What works for one couple doesn't work for another, and so on and so on.
I hear a spa day once a week with meditation on the off days. That's perfect for every relationship.
Yeah.
Highly recommend. Also, I would like a spa day.
I mean, if somebody's paying for it,
I know,
I'll
I was
take
going to
it.
say, yeah.
Exactly.
I work at a spa. I still ain't paying for it.
I could really use a massage, or like acupuncture or something. My muscles are absolute garbage because of like my anxiety. It's really rough.
I don't have muscles. I'm just a giant piece of blob.
One
Singular
singular sensation.
sensation,
Every
every little
little
step.
step she
I know
takes.
it's every single step we take.
Well, maybe that's it. I don't
It
know.
also could be at different parts of the song too.
It could be.
No, it's just that one part on
That's
repeat forever.
That's the whole song.
On loop. That's it. We probably got off
10-hour
tangent
version.
again.
I just can't wait to be king.
I liked how you guys said. I liked how you guys said about putting all your eggs in one basket,
Yeah.
leading it back to our original topic again.
Yeah.
Chickens.
Chickens being our main topic. That kind of made me think that maybe subconsciously that's why we have a hookup culture, because nobody wants to put all of their eggs in one basket, or everyone's like too afraid to do that at first.
Oh, absolutely.
So let's just hump and dump
Yeah.
and let me move on until I find somebody who can take all of my eggs.
But again, it's finding a happy medium, because all of them is like, that's a lot of eggs right there.
There's so many
That's
eggs.
way too many eggs.
I can't carry all of these
One
eggs.
person can't eat all of those eggs.
Over easy.
I hate over
Sunny
easy.
side up.
Yes. Yeah, that's the point, I think, is basically people have that wall still, and then you have some people that are really empathetic and sympathetic and just very open people, that think that everyone's going to be as genuine and open as they are, which is the case for Adam and how I was when I was younger. And you just jump into it with both feet, but you can't do that. You kind of have to like dabble a little bit, stick your toe in, see how it feels. Oh god.
Sex.
Yeah, that was
Yucky. But anyways, you just have to kind of go with the flow, I think. People tend to like think that there's some greater, bigger plan that they want to go and formulate, but it's, life's not that way in general. So
You gotta have multiple baskets with a lot of different eggs.
I'd say 7
I
to
think
10
that
eggs.
sounds like hookup culture.
That does.
Having a bunch of different.
I think
No,
one basket,
that's
you
what I'm
keep like
saying.
3 eggs to yourself, put about 7 to 10 in that basket, and you're golden.
But like
Golden egg.
I'm not saying that. I guess I guess what I meant was like,
No, you're saying like hobbies and stuff like that, which I would say is keeping
Yeah.
them to yourself, not
Right.
putting them in other baskets per se.
well, I mean, I can have multiple baskets with different eggs. I'm not just
That's
talking about
true.
Tim's baskets or Adam's baskets. I'm talking about my baskets, and then maybe like Tim's got 2 or 3 baskets.
Well, yeah, I guess just that does make sense. It just makes it a little bit more confusing, I'd say, for the analogy's sake.
What is that look you're giving me?
Well, look. Why do I always get accused of giving looks?
It's because you're colorblind.
It's my face. I
Fix your face.
I have resting bitch face. I don't
You
know what to tell you.
do.
That's why you gotta wear your glasses more often.
Yeah,
it
you
helps
look
with
cuter with your glasses.
Thanks.
that. It's just like a glass veil that covers the resting face there. That's why I wear mine.
Well, you know,
That
and
to help me see.
that's an important thing to bring up
My
too,
eyes.
though, is when you're in a relationship, when you finally do find a person that you are vibing with, to make sure that you keep the things that you're interested in. Like Catherine and I, when we started dating, and even still, I do my own things. Like I make movies on my own, and I go do my own shit.
I just remember when Tim and I first started dating, Tim told me that I needed to find a hobby.
That sounds like Tim.
It wasn't
can't
in a
even-
mean way. I don't think.
Like, I can't even tell you how it even was brought up. I think I just said, so, I don't know what I said, but you're just like, maybe you need to find a hobby.
Well, because I think you were
That
kind of.
sounds caring.
No, I know
That sounds-
exactly. I
I
know
don't-
exactly what it was. She was like sad and depressed about how, like, we couldn't spend as much time together, and you were kind of down about whatever. Like your friends had moved away and they weren't near you. So I was like, well, why don't you find like something that you can get lost in, like a hobby? Because I didn't want to feel guilty for because we were doing Dark Chamber Part 2 and whatever else.
Well, and that's what all of our videos or just playing video games and stuff like that is for us. It's just
Exactly.
like that's us getting lost, or movies.
Escapism.
I obviously see what you're saying now, but at the time, I feel like we were kind of freshly new.
That's probably 6 months in.
Okay, little freshly new, I would say. I'm weird. I needed to take
Those eggs
time.
would have been expired.
Exactly.
Wait,
I don't
what?
know. Yeah, no, that doesn't make
that
sense.
doesn't make sense. with what
I
you
guess
said.
what I'm saying is like, as somebody who was so insecure in the relationship because of my own shit, I took that as just like, he doesn't want to hang out with me. I'm not good enough.
That's also where just like seeing each other's perspectives helps though too, where it's like, oh, this is like, he's not meaning this in a mean way, he's meaning it as like
Right.
advice, and like, oh, she's not meaning like I need advice, she just needs to hear something.
Obviously, Tim and I have grown. I can totally see that shit now.
But for people listening, I don't know.
But yeah. But that really hurt my feelings then, and I'd really appreciate it if you apologized.
I won't.
On recording. Say it into the microphone.
Thanks. So far, you're painted as a really good boyfriend. I'm just kidding. He's great.
That sounded real sarcastic.
He's great. You're great.
Draw me like one of your French girls.
I can't draw.
Oh.
Cross stitch him like one of your French girls.
I'm not that good at cross stitching. I need to buy the pattern first.
Find a hobby.
You fucker and a half. I have found a hobby. You're a fucker. Oh my God. We're totally fighting after this. We're fighting when all of this is over. We're not fighting. But that was
All right, I
rude.
won't go into your guys'
You need to
bedroom.
Joke.
You need to say that was a mean joke.
It
That was a good joke.
Twas a
It
joke.
was a good callback.
I'm really sick of just constantly having men in my life. I need more girls in my life. I need a girl roommate.
I'm right here.
Hi, Adam.
Hey.
But yeah, so in general, I think the hookup culture is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, unfortunately, just because, well, you know, social media has made it so easy for there to be
So
so many
easy.
options too. Like people,
Oh, yeah.
people give up on their relationships when, you know, the shit hits the fan instead of working on it, because it's
Oh,
like
yeah.
they already have 3 or 4 other people that they may know are definitely interested because they like all their shit, or they're like people that had tried messaging them before and they're like, oh, I'm actually in a relationship now. So they keep them in mind, I think.
It makes it such a more complicated game though too, where it's like when
Oh,
before
yeah.
it's like, oh man, you got to really figure out how to manage these conversations. Now it's like, oh, do I like that post or not? Do I give it a heart? Oh, do I comment on it? It's like it's a whole nother layer, and it's like I don't want to deal
It's
with
like
that
a
personally.
new form of sleazy flirting, if you think
Yeah.
about it. Because I kind of remember being like, oh, I kind of like this guy. I think he's cute, but like, should I like any of his pictures? I remember when you and I first started talking, before I think like we kind of realized we were into each other, I was weird and I totally stalked your Instagram, as everyone probably has or does or do. And I just realized that I totally liked so many of your pictures, and I was just like, he's gonna think I'm crazy.
I make a point of going through every single one of someone's photos on Facebook and giving it a wow reaction.
Wow.
Wow.
But like, do you get what I'm saying? That it has created this weird form of like, that's your form of flirting now.
It's showing that you're interested. Yeah. It's how do they call it in the jungle? Presenting.
Or if like a girl likes someone's picture, like when we first started dating and some girl was liking your picture, I'd be like, who the fuck is this girl?
No, yeah. Do you remember the ex that I was talking about at the beginning?
Yeah.
She was liking my shit, and I'm like, what the fuck is this all about?
Well, that's because I think she was still incredibly insecure.
Yeah.
It's okay, girl. You're fine. Moving on.
Yeah. Well, I fucking hate you still. Sorry.
Oh my God, I love that.
Editing. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't edit that out.
I won't.
Make it known.
God, jeez, whatever.
It doesn't matter.
I ain't
But
gonna
either
say
way,
that.
Cheese and crackers. So since my whiskey's gone, I'm just gonna say real quick, social media is the absolute worst.
I
really
do
is.
hate social
That's all I
media.
have to say.
it just makes everything so much more complicated for forming relationships, but it also makes things easy. I will say, as someone who I've never used Tinder, I don't know, like what would happen to me was the same exact way that we started talking. People would just message me on Facebook. Mm-hmm.
You also tend to have a lot of suitors that just like fawn over you easily. People like you really
I'm
easily.
right here.
No, like I'm just saying,
No,
like
it's
people
totally
just
true.
immediately gravitate towards you.
I know. Girls want to hop on Dim's. I've had wine. Tim's dick. And it's so true.
You've had so little wine.
All I had was a clementine today. So
Oh, that'll do it then.
I should order us some delicious pizza then.
I'm on a diet.
Me too.
With Oreos?
I came home and had 3 Oreos.
Samesies though.
But if you did have Tinder, how do you think that would shape your specific hookup culture? Because, I mean, let's be honest, you and I were really slutty in college. We all know it.
Yeah.
So, but I had Tinder that helped me because I'm not confident in my body. I am not confident in my sexuality. I'm surprised I even hooked up with people in college in general because of how awkward I think I am and how uncomfortable I am with my body. But like, Tim Tam over here is hot to fucking trot. Girl, you fucking know you got bitches hanging at the door. So if you had Tinder, would you continue to be a slut, or do you think you would like...
No, because
You're a better person than me, so this
first
makes
of
sense.
all, and this is going to make me
It's not
sound...
even necessarily a better person.
don't-
It's just people change, and
I
it's
don't
like
really know how to answer that question without sounding like a douchebag
Sound like
anyways.
a douchebag. You're fine. This is an open space.
Okay,
we'll
well-
talk about it later.
we'll
Come
love
on.
you
Comfortable.
anyway.
I never... I don't know. I always was just good at it. I was just good at getting...
You were confident in yourself, though,
exactly.
and that helped a lot.
So going up to a girl and be like, hey, I think you're pretty or whatever. Like I want to go out and let's go get a drink sometime. Like I never talk to people as if they're not friends. And I think that was always...
So even like girls that you just planned on like strictly taking home to have sex with.
Yeah.
Really? Girl, see, okay. We had a conversation the other day and you're just like, girls just play these mind games. I'm so straightforward. Okay. So you go to a girl at a bar.
it's pretty straightforward still.
I don't think so at all. Like if you came up to me at a bar and you're just like, hey, I think you're really pretty. Let's go get a drink sometimes. I'm thinking you want to actually like take me out, get to know me.
No, yeah.
I'm not thinking you just want to take me
Sure.
home.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, I think all but maybe 2 or 3 girls that I've ever, just hooked up with, knew what it was and were fine with it.
Okay.
I think 2 or 3 of them definitely, a couple of them, one of them was incredibly difficult.
Also, a lot more of
Is this
that's
the one that
communicated.
followed you home one time?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot more than communicated than just that opening line, and there's also like body language
exactly,
and stuff like that.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
where
Well,
that
yeah.
conversation
But
goes.
so 3 of, I want to say maybe 3 of them thought that I was more interested than I was, but then I even explicitly expressed to them, and this was even before sex, that I was not, and I was just interested in having fun and just getting to know one another, and I wasn't being tied down to one thing or the other.
See, okay, again, that's going to make me think, again, I'm definitely crazy. We all know it. I probably overthink everything. But if you met me up at a bar and you're just like, hey, I think you're really pretty. Let's like go get a drink sometime. I'm thinking you're going to want to hang out with me on like a Saturday afternoon. Unless you come up to me and you're just like, hey, I definitely want to take you home tonight. Cool. You take me home. And then you're just like, I really just want to get to know you. This is just for fun. Oh, I guess. I don't know. I don't like the words getting to know you.
That makes sense.
Because
I can see that.
In my hookup culture, I don't care anything about you. Is your name Steve? I don't care.
I would still
see.
care,
I no,
That's
that I'm not. I was not that way.
I was.
In fact, some of the people that I did hook up with were like multiple times. But I want to say that maybe 50% were people that were kind of like acquaintances that I got to be friends with, like in Buffalo or wherever it was.
Yeah, I would still want to get to know someone.
Exactly. I wanted some, not necessarily form of intimacy, because that made me feel poorly, I think.
So how far are you getting to know someone?
Just
I've just never had this like I've just never had this conversation.
What's your blood type?
No, like I'm serious.
I think I never really wanted it to ever feel like we couldn't at least be friends. You know what I mean? Like I never wanted it to feel like it was just like, hey, I'm calling you up and all I'm doing is sticking my dick in you and then bye. Because I've never really operated
that way.
Still
some form of connection, some form of camaraderie. Well, camaraderie is a weird word, but like, yeah, connection, I guess.
I remember when me and my first serious relationship, when we first split up, and I was incredibly heartbroken. The first girl I hooked up with, like immediately afterwards, she was a lot more interested in me than I was her, and she thought, and I kept seeing her for like 3 months. And but I wasn't interested. We were just having sex.
Well, that sounds like leading on.
Yeah.
But, and I was, and that's that's where I learned that I couldn't. You
didn't like doing
this.
That.
Is your origin story.
That.
Right.
This is your origin
exactly.
story.
So that's where I learned that I couldn't do that, and that I basically either had to tell them outright, which I have, by the way, where it's like, hey, well, actually, to be honest with you, and I'm not just saying this, I want to say like 80 to 90% of the time, I'm the one being approached.
Fuck you, I know.
So
I know that too.
Like, I'm not fucking stupid, Tim. We've talked about this every single day since I've fucking dated you. I know you're the hot one. We get it.
But I'm just
Trust
saying.
me, it frustrates me too.
Oh my god, it's so fucking frustrating.
So
like you're talking to the two most plain-looking people in the fucking world.
Hey now,
Jesus.
I mean, you're right, but hey now.
Adam, I love you, but like, come on, we're both really fucking plain.
Maybe if I continue to lose some weight. I lost like 8 pounds in this past week.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Intermittent
I don't know
fasting.
if that's like a healthy way, like a healthy amount of time. But hey, good for you.
I've basically cut myself down from eating like 2,800 calories a day to now like 1,300.
Oh my god, I'd be starving.
Oh, I am. I've been real hangry every moment of my last week.
Eat 2 clementines a day and maybe like a handful of Fruit Loops. That's my diet right now.
That's not bad. That sounds pretty good right now.
And 3 Oreos.
Some sugar.
Oh, also throwing some vape on top of that for me.
Got it.
Yeah. So nicotine running through my veins.
But I've never hooked up with somebody that, I guess, like you. I mean, in my college days, I've never hooked up with somebody that like came up, like approached me and was just like, hey, I think you're really pretty. Like, I want to get to know you. That's never happened in my life. It's been like 2:30 in the morning.
Did you go out much, or was it all like, was most of your experience was Tinder though as well, right?
Tinder helped because, so I went to Oswego. Oswego was kind of small-ish.
Yeah.
So like Tinder would help because like I would either match with somebody that I knew I had a class with, so that kind of helped because the classes were around like maybe 30 to 50 at most.
Right.
So that helped.
It's a decent size SUNY school, but not huge.
Right. And I was in a really small department, so that also helped too.
Yeah.
So I either matched with people that I knew I had classes with, or I matched with people that I knew were like friends of a friend, or that I saw and met at like a bar or whatever. So that helped that if we did run out and like run into each other at a bar or whatever, it would be more comfortable to be like, hey, definitely into just hooking up with you. I never really had a serious, even like relationship's not the right word, friendship, acquaintance, a serious any of that from Tinder. And a lot of it was at like 2-3 in the morning, and like I don't fucking know your sister's name. Like, I don't know anything about you. I'm not trying to get to know you, but I'm just trying to continue to hook up with you.
Yeah.
So don't break my heart if you hook up with somebody else. That's the other
Tinder
thing.
is fascinating to me.
Yeah. So that was the exact opposite of my experience. I think that, first of all, none of that ever happened on a whim. Like, it never happened on a whim for me where I'd match with well, I never used Tinder, but I never, like, randomly hooked up with someone at 2 a.m, bars closing, hey, I'm taking you home tonight. That never happened to me. Not once, not ever.
But you also didn't want that to happen.
No.
I was at a point in my life where, like, sex was the only thing that made me feel
empowered.
I don't know, like, made me feel fucking worth
validated.
something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, good
I
about yourself,
remember,
yeah.
like, going home drunk one night and, like, pissed because the guy that I was hanging out with all night didn't want to go home with me, and then this other guy I was flirting with didn't want to come home with me, and I literally remember walking home drunk and just sobbing because I was like, I'm not good enough because nobody wants to hook up with me. How fucking sad is that? That's sad.
It is sad.
That is
I mean,
so
yeah,
sad.
I'm sure there's a ton of
there's-
people at that point though
there's-
as well.
Right.
And
There's
it's like,
there's a
I know
whole,
that that's not out of the norm.
Yeah.
no, there's a
It's
whole
unfortunate.
psychology.
Which is also really sad.
it's unfortunate for
well,
sure.
and by the way, that was something I experienced too. That exact feeling, where if I wasn't, if I didn't have that friendship or that at least something acquaintance, whatever, where I kind of knew the person, I grabbed coffee with them a couple times or whatever. If I did just hook up, it made me feel dirty. Like, it made me feel like a piece of shit. It made me feel like, and by the way, I can also be a complete douchebag.
You
Like, as
can.
soon as
I love you.
as soon as we were, done, and they like want to be cuddly and whatever,
Right. I
no,
remember
I
you
want you,
saying
I want
that.
you to leave. Like, and I was mean about it too. Like, oh, you don't want me? No, like, I want you out.
Right.
Goodbye.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of your pros and also your cons is how absolutely straightforward you are with that
Yeah.
type of stuff. Like, if you want something to be a certain way, you will make it very clear.
So I just learned that I hated that. I hated that version of myself.
Right.
So in order to avoid it, the people that I would hook up with were normally people that I had classes with or whatever, and
Yeah.
I knew them, and we'd banter back and forth in class or go get coffee or whatever. And then if it just so happened to be like somebody was in the mood, it's like, do you want to go back to my place and study or whatever? And then it's just yeah. Or
Study that
we'd be
bit.
like, hey, let's go out tonight and go have a good time, and
That's
we'd
the
go
class you get an F in.
exactly F for fuck.
I liked that one.
Or we'd go have a whole night of it, like a whole
Yeah.
night of going out to the bar together, and like, let's go party together, and then end up you can just crash at my place, and then of course it just ends up
See,
happening.
that also never happened to me either. It's very bizarre, and I don't know if it's because like maybe I did. It obviously doesn't matter now, but like if I did something wrong, just because I remember I definitely was into this one guy who was so not into me, and he did invite me out to go with his friends instead of like just meeting at the bar like we usually did. I went to his place. We like pre-gamed before we went out to the bars with all of his friends. I met all of his friends, and he got fucking wasted, and like sober little 17-year-old Catherine, I was like 18. No, I think I was 21. Doesn't matter. Sober fucking Catherine had to drag this fucker onto like the D bus and get him home, and all of his friends were gone. And then I just remember him like yelling at me for no reason. And I was just like, I'm like, I don't know. And it broke my heart because I was totally into him. I learned then he was not. So the one time that I actually hung out with somebody
Right.
that I was hooking up with on like more of a date type level, I guess you could say, or more than just a hooking up level, totally fucked everything up.
Well, and like all of this stuff is also very influenced by the other person, because there's
Yeah.
every one of these circumstances has another person involved with it, and that can have such a huge impact on your like feelings on that experience and how that experience changes your perspective.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that's basically that. That was the reason. I mean, for my particular way of going about it. And then I just got to the point where I didn't really want that at all. I think probably around the age of 24 is when I stopped. No, I guess.
So then,
Yeah, like my first semester at UB is when I, because I started seeing the one girl, and that was I only saw her, and that was that for a year.
I was gonna say, at least since I've known you, that's been
About a year before I met
Yeah.
you, yeah.
so then my next question is, do you think most people, or some people, I don't know, do you think people have to kind of live through and deal with and accept and go through this whole hookup culture before they really feel or find themselves
Well,
ready enough to like have a serious relationship?
I would say no.
No?
Well, so okay. Well, here's the thing. For one, I think that question is really broad because you're
very
not
true.
you're not adding in the factors
Okay,
of
fucking attack me, guys. Jesus.
We're answering your question.
there's a lot of factors because there's people's personal beliefs, like say someone's Catholic and wants
Right.
to save themselves from marriage, or
I said
whatever.
some or most. I didn't say all
Well,
people.
I think it's
Still,
here's something that I will
Covering
say.
all the bases.
I think that it's incredibly important for people to at least dabble.
Okay.
And my reasoning for that is, and I think I mean no one's going to convince me otherwise, sex is incredibly important
Yeah.
when it comes to relationships.
Okay.
Kind of getting to know what each other likes and being able to be open about sex.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not comfortable with yourself in sex, then it's going to make it really hard for you to have a relationship.
So I guess that leads back to my question. Like, I think I got more comfortable with my own sexual whatever through hooking up with people.
Yeah, I'd say that definitely helps with the comfort of
Well,
it.
yeah, there's a sense of empowerment that most people gain through that. I mean, I
And also just general learning, like
It's
not
a-
only about those experiences, but about yourself inside
exactly.
of them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, exactly. That's how I came to the conclusion that I didn't want to hook up to hook up. That was never my thing.
It's like a crash course in self-analysis.
Yeah. And then I think you find out basically again what you find to be acceptable in a partner long term through those experiences. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you need to go fuck everybody. You can. I mean,
You can.
just
You
If
can.
you
Just-
decide to. You
And if
Right,
they
right.
decide to as well.
but
right.
but just going on dates in general and getting to know different people. Like, there's nothing wrong with casually seeing people.
Right, but I find dates and hooking up so different. So I think like that's what I mean is like I never hooked up with somebody like you who would take me out to coffee the day before or the night after, or like whatever it was. Like in my
Who's going to coffee the night after?
whatever, you know what I mean? In my hookup culture, it was strictly just like I met you at the
Strictly
bar.
dickily?
Yes. No, like I'm serious. So that's what I'm saying is like, do you think it's important to kind of have your casual hookups with nothing really, like no strings attached?
I will say that I've had like 2 or 3, and again, one of those was what taught me how to be straightforward with people and how to communicate what it was that I was looking for.
So yes, your answer is yes.
So essentially, I think that it is important, yes, for
Okay.
people to experience. But I'm not saying that it's detrimental.
Not necessarily important, but it is helpful.
It's helpful.
Okay.
It's helpful.
Yes.
It's
I think
helpful.
that's what I was just trying to get at.
And there's nothing wrong with casual sex either. Like, people make that such a dirty concept.
Oh, I'm not saying anything's
no,
wrong
no,
with
I
it
know.
at all.
I'm not saying you are, but I'm saying in general for the listeners.
I'm Christian.
There's absolutely nothing. If both parties are interested, you're being smart about it.
Mm-hmm.
You're protected. Whatever. Blah blah. Sex is fun. Like,
Sex is so much
why?
fun.
Why would you like? And by the way, you should figure that shit out before you want to settle down with somebody, because if you don't,
That's going to be a real rough time on the wedding night.
exactly. Well, and not just with sex, not just with being comfortable with your sexuality and like what you like and whatever, and being able to vocalize that, but also basically that I think some people end up regretting having not gone through those experiences when they get older. Like, say you'd only ever been with one person and then you get married to the second person you ever date, and you're together for 20 years and you've only ever had sex with 2 people ever in your entire life. Like, I think there's a lot to be learned, not just by sex, but by having to go through those motions with other people.
That awkwardness.
Yeah, like,
with sex
and
through
figure
people.
and
It's a
exactly
very awkward thing.
being able to
So fucking awkward.
again, like, I don't know, the more you go through it, the more confident you are with telling your partner, and eventually the partner that you want to spend the rest of your life with,
Yeah.
what you like,
Yeah.
and accepting what they like, and being able to apply both and finding like a middle ground. Because I'll tell you something, I think that, I mean, I'm very vanilla personally, so I think
He
that,
is.
and I think.
I got a YouTube video to show you guys after this, by the way.
No,
Remind me.
gross.
All right, it wouldn't be a fucking night with Adam if there wasn't a goddamn YouTube
Dude,
video
I
to be
watched
shown.
so much fucking
That's
YouTube.
That's great. But I think that if it's not, without having other attributes and being able to vocalize certain things or being able to express the reason maybe why somebody only likes certain things, like with the case of me, then people wouldn't...
Me too.
Exactly. Then people wouldn't be able to understand. Maybe people would get annoyed by it,
Okay.
or wouldn't be as accepting of it if you're not into the same shit that they're into. So I think it's just an important part of being able to vocalize essentially what your needs are.
As weird as it fucking sounds, you really do learn a lot about yourself when you hook up with people that you're not emotionally attached to.
Yep.
I mean, I feel like that's the case anytime I'm naked. Personally.
Right, yeah.
With your rubber ducky in the bathtub.
Yeah. It's like, wow, I do have anxiety. I'm probably going to edit that out.
Fake laugh that was.
Mine?
Yeah.
It's because I've had some wine. I'm trying to make my laughs sound sincere.
You don't have to laugh at my very dumb jokes.
Okay, thanks. Good. I'm so glad we got it out the way.
Yeah. That'll save us a lot of hassle for the next however many episodes we have.
I also can't hear myself, so I don't know if my laugh is sounding real
Well,
or not.
You can't? Why don't
Well,
you?
like, I can, but I kind of, sort of.
Back once again with the renegade mask that
We've been talking. Okay.
Adam just
I
presented
totally
to
hear
us.
myself now.
Yeah.
We've been
See?
talking for so long, and I haven't been able to hear myself.
You should have been clear about that earlier. I know you mentioned it,
But I also don't know what I'm doing.
okay.
So.
Well, Adam presented to us, so.
So, what else do we think about our hookup culture?
Well, I think basically to sum it up, it's incredibly important to allow yourself to...
Helpful. I liked Adam's word that it's more helpful. It's not important. You don't need to.
No, you don't need to.
But it's helpful.
No, but that's not... I wasn't even talking about the sex.
Sorry.
I think it's incredibly important to allow yourself to have these missteps and finding yourself along the way.
That absolutely.
And it's okay to find yourself having fun with the hookup culture, but also it's important to recognize that everybody's needs aren't the same. So less judgment when it comes to either hooking up or not, just respecting each other's boundaries and whatnot.
Yeah, I think everything we've talked about, because we talked about school a little bit as well, and we just talked about general perspectives and stuff. I think the biggest thing is paying attention to other people's perspectives. So like that's huge for making sure that like you're not misleading someone else and they're not misleading you. And then after that, it's all about like, I mean, well, other than also just being a good time, it's also about like that's a way of learning a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
I agree.
So this has been our first segment of Real Shit.
All right, well, I guess that's the end of this episode. We've been Rock City Trio, and
Well, we are Rock City Trio.
Yeah, we have been and will be.
And we will be.
We will be.
And we are.
And until forevermore.
And
until we're dead
break.
or something. Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye. Rock City Trio out.
No, I hate it.
Why did I go high? I don't know why I went
I don't know.
high.
The harmony was really
Bye.
good. Bye.
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 Bye.